Hey, Jerry.
Hey, Miss Tanya.
Have you forgotten my name already? It's only been like 18, 19 years.
It's early here.
So today we are talking about sobriety and motherhood. I mean, we've talked about sobriety and fatherhood, right?
Right, which is more interesting.
Well, for you.
Right.
But as the mom and as the codependent anger, depression, you name it, I've got it. It's a little harder to tell when I'm practicing in sobriety than when somebody is just not drinking. That seems kind of simple. I was tooling around on Instagram and I found this fantastic page on Instagram called Sober Mamas. And I thought, wow, this is super cool. And I reached out to Shelly Anderson, who runs the page, and she started telling me all kinds of wonderful things about the things she was doing to help sober moms conquer their codependency. So I invited her on the podcast.
Real life for real families. Hurts, habits, and hang-ups happen in every family.
Jerry and I are here with tools to help you trust God, clean house, and tell the truth to ramp up the joy in your family.
You have what it takes.
It's time to become sober on purpose for His purpose. So I was tooling around on internet and I found this person who is doing work to help sober moms conquer codependency. Her name is Shelly Anderson. She's got this great story. And I invited her to come on the podcast and she said yes. So I'm going to throw it over to her to let her tell us a little bit about her story and what project she is working on right this minute.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shelly. And, I always wanted to be a mother. I always did. I used to daydream about it. And I didn't think that my life would be complete until I became a mom. And once I did, once I became a mom, that's when my alcoholism really took flight. During my pregnancy, when I stopped drinking, for that 9 months, things became kind of clear to me and, what I wanted in my life. And my life wasn't feeling so complete as I thought it would. I can really relate to, the feeling of being overwhelmed and not being able to manage my emotions. I wasn't sleeping well. I got postpartum depression so badly that I was hearing things. And I was actually hearing from my son's nursery, chipmunks. You remember them? Mm-hmm. Chipmunks were singing, "Jesus loves the little children." And so my husband at the time was so supportive. He's like, "Well, Shelly, at least they're good spirits talking to you."
Right.
But I couldn't watch the news. Anything that was on the news was very overwhelming. And I wouldn't take my son to the grocery store. I was afraid, someone would snatch him. And I wasn't getting any relief. So I started drinking again. Mm. And then I would feel okay in my own skin. But something happened to my body. When AA tells us that we have an allergy to alcohol, like I really developed an allergy to alcohol where I started breaking out in magenta spots on my chest, back, and abdomen. And I was getting hyperventilating. And so I would back off of it. But then when I would drink again, it would start again. So do you think that stopped me? As a real alcoholic here? No. I would still keep drinking. And as my son got older and where you have to start putting things away because they'll get hurt, mm-hmm. I'd be so hungover in the morning that I would go into his bedroom, baby safe it, and lie in front of the door where he couldn't get out and try to recover from the night before and mm-hmm. not really reap the benefits and the joys of watching, a baby go through those milestones. I don't really remember potty training my son, and that, I can get deep into mother's guilt. But my mom reminds me, Shelly, you don't remember when you heard that he had used the potty for the first time, you went right out and got him pull-ups, and I don't remember any of that. But what I do remember is how the darkness started coming over me, and it started getting worse until the moment I decided, I need to do something. I need help. So I did find myself in AA. I didn't quite grasp that I needed to change all people, places, and things. I really still felt left out. I would go to my ex-husband, and I had an arrangement because I felt that if I'm the one who wanted the divorce, then I needed not to stop the relationship of them from blossoming. So I would let him have him 1 week, and then I would have my son the other week. But there was a perk to that too, because then I had a week of freedom, and I could drink, I could have my friends over, and I could live the college life again I was trying to recreate. And then when I would get him back, then my mom would have him, because then I could still have my freedom. And for me, and the denial that I had at that time was, okay, well, I'm being a good mom because I have my son in a safe place. I'm managing. But what was happening is that people were taking care of my kid because I was not capable at the time. Mm-hmm. And I did not lose custody of my child, but I should have. I'm very lucky that I didn't. So I don't judge other mothers, who have lost custody of their children. I could see how that could happen. It's, we're like, okay, I'm going to go out and I'm going to do this one time, and then I'll get better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Then tomorrow I won't do it. So once I ended up in this non-medical detox, I remember sitting there and thinking, and actually shared in a meeting, I'm like, all I really want to do, and I get so teary-eyed thinking about this, all I really want to do is go home and sit with my 3-year-old son and watch him eat an ice cream cone. And that is living, and that is true motherhood.
Thank you, Shelly. Thank you for the vulnerability of your story. I know there are so many mothers out there that are struggling with these same issues, or struggling with the guilt of having been that person. Even if they are sober now, it's hard to walk back through those memories that hopefully could be good, are tainted by all of this. And in my own story, there's a lot of guilt and frustration of what I didn't do and what I did do, how angry I was, how frustrated I was, how short-tempered I was with my child, and that I was constantly in motion, taking care of everybody and everything and trying to manage anything. Her husband, my husband, everything that was going on. And during the height of the crisis, I was nursing the second child and thinking, okay, just calm down and enjoy this moment, because this is important. He needs to see my eyeballs to his eyeballs, not this screwed up, angry face. And I really appreciate you being so vulnerable about your story. There's a lot of us that just tuck that away and say, okay, I did the best I could with what I had. Mm-hmm. You did, until you knew you needed to change. And then you need to do something else.
And, we talked about not trying to cut you off, but I'm going to cut Tanya off because that's okay. I got to tell you, Shelly, your story has just absolutely touched me and really triggered a lot of the emotions that I thought I had dealt with in the 2 times I've gone through my 12 steps, but perhaps I'm not all the way there, because I got to tell you, there's so many similarities to your story and mine that have really opened up some wounds, which clearly needed to be done. And boy, that is so powerful to hear you talk about that. And my story has a lot of similarities as well. And, I remember hearing so many times from the rooms how people would talk about, I should have lost my custody. I should have lost custody of my children, but I didn't, or I should have lost my license or my job, and I didn't. And I think we're really the lucky ones. And I should have lost custody and my job and my license.
And the no,
yes, probably so.
We did that for a little bit. The no judgment part. Talk about that a little bit more. How you're able to bring your presence in there without any judgment when you're helping moms who are conquering codependency.
Well, during my, we mentioned before the podcast started that I'm a therapist and I've actually just graduated in August. And I was doing my internship at a local community service treatment center, which had funding. We had a program called Postpartum and Pregnant Women. And at the time, I thought I wanted to counsel women for postpartum depression. But what I was finding is that I was connecting so well with these women who were just coming into early recovery, and they were trying to get their children back. And this program helped them get the funding, have all the social supports they needed. And I was really touching some of these women with my story, and I did not realize that. Being a therapist, we have to have certain boundaries, like clinical boundaries, and not share too much about ourselves and maintain that distance. And that's why I've started coaching women, because I'm able to have a closer connection. And I actually kind of got in trouble for that a little, for sharing a little too much. And I'm like, okay, so I'm not going to do addiction primary in therapy. So I do something else in that profession. But I have watched some of these women get so much stronger. And when I taught them a certain skill in therapy we call dialectical behavior therapy, where we teach skills to stop the black and white thinking and how to regulate emotions. And that coupled with the 12 steps, some of these women got their children back, and they are still sober today. And it's been over a year.
Awesome.
So I do a lot of coaching with DBT, and I call DBT the 12 steps on steroids, because they are fine. They go deeper with steps 6 and 7, which I think needs to really be touched on a little bit more, because I needed help with codependency. I relapsed at 8 months because when I came in, I got into a relationship with a guy who really knew the program. However, he was a chronic relapser. But in my eyes, being so new and so sick and so vulnerable, I latched onto him because he knew how to live sober. He knew the program. And I did not know how to live in my own skin yet. So I piggybacked off his recovery for 8 months. And around 8 months, when he went out and he started using, I thought, okay, but I want to bond with him. I'm going to be without him. And here I am feeling lonely again. So in that relapse, I did things that I thought that I would never do. I never thought I would ever put a needle in my arm, and I did. I did. I thought I would never smoke crack, but I did. And so that's the things that I teach these women, that I am, here I am, I'm, a therapist now. I've got my own car. I've got my own house. But I've worked like hell to get out of that. I don't judge any of you. I never, did any of you women think that you would ever do that? And no, like, you're not alone.
Yeah. And
when I came back out of that relapse, I grabbed onto a sponsor who was in her 70s. She had been a mother. She had been a single mother. She raised 3 children, went through 3 marriages, and she was a codependency, Al-Anon Nazi herself. And she said, you will live alone for a year. You're going to read Melody Beattie's Codependent No More. Yes. And you're going to work on codependency. I know right where you are, Shelly. I know right where you are, she said.
Yeah.
She goes, you need to focus on your kids. And I did that year, and I have been sober ever since.
Speak a little bit more to what you've seen of the power of codependency. I think we look at alcohol and say, that's really powerful. In my mind, and this is my particular opinion, codependency and that relationship addiction is even stronger than picking up a drink.
In your experience with alcoholism, you don't think that's as powerful?
I don't. I think the codependency, I think when you talk about what happens with codependency, and it's kind of like food, we're not people who isolate. We cannot walk away from relationships like you can put down alcohol or those types of things. You can't walk away from eating.
Yeah.
So
I was kind of making a sarcastic joke. I was totally making a sarcastic joke, but I don't have as much experience with codependency at an intimate level as I do with alcoholism. That's why I was joking. But I think for me, there's a lot of times where we're dealing with these character defects where sometimes there's a real clear win and lose situation. So for example, if you're an alcoholic or you're focusing on your alcoholism and your recovery there, well, you either drink or you don't, right? And that's
Right.
like really, really cut and dry. But if you're focusing on anger or codependence, it's not like, was I codependent today? There's a lot more evaluation that has to take place when you're going through your 10-step.
Well, I mean, we do ask that question. Was I behaving in a codependent way?
Yeah.
Was I hungry, angry, lonely, tired? Was I feeling depressed? Did I push off my emotions onto somebody else? Just fill us in on the power of how this takes over.
Codependency for me was like, I can't take care of my goals. I can't take care of myself until and I could really relate to you a whole lot on this level, is that when I did marry him, he relapsed every 6 months. And so there was this roller coaster of things. Okay, so now he's sober. Yeah, okay, now we can get on with life. Now I can feel whole again. And that went on for 7 years.
Ouch.
It did. And because it was like a honeymoon phase all over again. And people are like, well, how did you stay so long? Well, because I kept getting hope. There was still hope.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you what, when he came back into the program, I wasn't working my program right. You're not going to enough meetings, Shelly. And I'm like, dude, I've been sober this whole time watching you. But the codependency part, it took time. It took me building relationships with other women. I had to really focus on myself. I finished my the master's degree that I was working on before I came into the program. My codependency Nazi sponsor said, Shelly, you don't want any of this to affect you and your goals. She had her own house. I'm like, you did this all by yourself? It was just amazing to me that a woman could do that despite everything. And she's like, yes. And as I remember sitting there, I had just broken up with him because we had to work on this was, after coming in after the relapse, May 28th, 2007. And I'm watching her paint her toenails and getting ready to go to this AA party that we were going to. I have all this drama going on because my phone continues to blow up, from him.
Mm-hmm.
How can she just sit there in her own world? Like, that could never be me,
Yeah.
Oh my God. And I watched her and she's like, yes, Shelly, I did all this myself. But today I can take off and go get something done, get a pedicure done, and not worry about what someone else is doing. But the codependency of learning that it all really came down to step 2 and 3 when I learned to let go. And the way I started working to get myself out of the codependency is that I'm not God. There is a God. I needed to get out of God's way and stop controlling, stop pushing my will onto, maybe this is his path. Maybe my path is that I need to continue growing and take care of my own son, because this was a son from a different marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what I tell the codependent mamas too. Our children do not wait on us to get our act together to start growing. They're disappearing into adults right now. And this is their foundation.
Now she's touching your heart.
I know. Now she's getting me.
They are disappearing into adults. It's true. Mine just turned 17 and now he has his own car, his first job last week.
Wow.
And I've been so grateful that I have found the program and found my way back to, the God of my understanding.
And that's a wise woman said to me in a meeting. She said, Tanya, there are times when wives get in the way of their husband's sobriety. And we don't, it is through our best intentions that we do that we're trying to help. We're trying to do things to maintain the family. And then our therapist said to me, let it look like it really looks. Don't cover it. Don't make it better. Don't fix it. Don't pay the bills. Don't make sure you look okay when you go to church. Let it look like it really looks. So you can see it, so he can see it. It isn't intended to damage the children, of course. It is just to say, I can't create what isn't there. And like you said, if I continue to play God, then God can't be God.
Right.
And and for us in our Christian context, what you were describing with your Nazi sponsor was being peaceful in the midst of the storm, which Paul talks about. Whether you have something, whether you have nothing, whatever it is, you're able to be peaceful there. And that is so hard. So I imagine that's what you work on women with when you do the recovery coaching.
Right.
And so tell us a little bit about, you have a recovery coaches of Instagram.com. And that's a website out there. We'll talk a little bit about the summit, but tell us about the Instagram page, Recovery Coaches of Instagram.
Can I tell you one more thing?
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I can continue that story because there's a really good climax to it. I kept thinking, we talk about self-will in step 3, and I kept thinking, well, I'm married. I'm supposed to stick through this. I need to be the one staying sober and living by example. But things were getting so bad for me physically, even though my mind was telling me it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay. I started breaking out in hives. So then I had to reframe everything, that I was basing this on by staying in this marriage. Is that, am I being selfish by staying in this marriage? Am I being selfish by continually giving him a place to come home to? By taking him to the best treatment centers? I'm being selfish. I need to, even as badly as I did not want to divorce him, I needed to get out of the way completely.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did. And he stayed sober for 2 years after that. Which was a very long time, and the rest is his story, so I won't tell it. So the Recovery Coaches of Instagram, I wanted to reach more moms. I have a business coach who told me the best way to do that is to get a summit of your peers, and you all get together and tell your stories, tell how you help your ideal client, and leverage each other's audiences.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So let's get, because you all may have somebody who's looking for someone who's been through what I've been through, and vice versa.
And how do you feel having the background helps connect with the person who is looking right now? So you have coaches from all different walks. Can you share more about their backgrounds and how they can connect with people?
I have, let's see, there's like 20 of them now. We have one who has a lot of trauma, a lot of sexual trauma,
mm-hmm.
which is something, especially men who are very reluctant to share. And, they say we're only sick as our secrets.
Mm-hmm.
We have a coach who is for women who are just coming out of a domestic abuse. So we could pull, anyone who, and you don't even have to be in a 12-step recovery to be a recovery coach. We have Smart Recovery. I have someone who, I'm going through the memes that I've created. We have one who does just all around life coaching, just, accomplish your goals while you're in sobriety. There is one who's a relationship expert,
mm-hmm.
who's like, so you're sober, so now what? And that's why I teamed up with Clean and Sober Love, who had that's the app, the dating app for people in sobriety,
mm-hmm.
and their audience, because we need to make sure that if you're using this dating app, that you're not drowning in codependency and looking for another fix.
Absolutely.
And what I hear, we may have a Christian recovery coach coming on too.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, Shelly and I were talking about that beforehand, that if she still had space, that I would love to do that. That's my niche, is Christian recovery coach, marriage, relationships in marriage with family. And especially since we went through this with kids like you did, we did some work with the Betty Ford Center and their children's program, which is absolutely fantastic, on helping the children sort out that they are not the problem, that they are to be the kid, and that the parents are to take care of the adult parental things. So all those areas are something that I'm interested in sharing. But tell us a little bit more about the summit and how the format is going to work. It starts on the 24th, which is a day from today that this podcast is published. And so you can hop on, and it's Recovery Coaches of Instagram.com/summit hyphen 2019. So that's a little long, but I will throw that into the show notes. And as we publish things, we'll put that in there too. Tell us how the format's going to work and what people who are coming to the summit can expect.
So the format is that actually the link is also in my bio. If you just go to my bio at sober_mamas.com, you just sign up, and I will send an email out. The emails are going to start coming out tomorrow, getting everybody hyped up for it and letting you know what's going on. And I will send an invite into a private Facebook group where I will upload each respective recovery coach's video they have, telling their story, what services they offer, how you can reach them. And that particular coach will be in that Facebook group there to collaborate, answer questions. So it's a good time to come and get to know your recovery coaches. And if you need one, pick one that resonates with you. So the video is going to be in there for the duration of the summit for 5 days.
Awesome. And so that happens over the Memorial Day weekend this year, and you should have some time to do that if it's over Memorial Day weekend. So it's the 24th, 25th, 26th, and 27th.
And 28th.
And 28th.
You know why? Because that's my sobriety date. And
awesome. That's fantastic.
When May 28th, was my day one, it was Memorial Day.
Because it moves, right?
Yeah. And at 6:00 that morning, I'm like, damn it, I've done it again. I am going to lose my child this time, Right. But I can't celebrate it on Memorial Day. That's just selfish, because there are people who, need to be celebrated more than me on that day. But I did extend it for that reason.
That's fantastic. So there are 20 some odd coaches in there, all different flavors and varieties that focus on recovery. And you can come and listen. You can ask questions. There will be contact information for those coaches if you want to do that. And those are the folks that are forward thinking, moving you in a direction that you want to go. These are all still basically non-directive.
Exactly. And it could be an alternative to a 12-step program or going to treatment, or a beautiful bonus. Look, I need all the help I can get. I got outside help.
Yes. And they're co-creators. So coaches are always co-creators. This is not, I will tell you what to do. A sponsor is a little bit different. Do you want to talk about the difference between a sponsor and a coach?
I would love to do that, because I do both. I sponsor at home. A sponsor's job is to take you through the steps and to ensure that you're staying sober. You are accountable to your sponsor. A coach is going to co-create a plan for you to take care of a specific problem.
So I imagine you find this in your work. It's not that I can take care of his problem, because with codependency, all I wanted for a while was for him to get sober. I didn't realize how sick I was. So it has to be a plan to work with whatever issues you decide, not fixing the rest of the world, because that just continues our codependency.
Absolutely. And if there's something that is hindering you from going to your meetings, or something that you just can't grasp, and it's not for me as a coach to point that out to you.
Mm-hmm.
As a coach, you tell me what you want to work on, and we'll get you there.
That's awesome.
All right, Coach. I wanna develop a plan to help my wife not be codependent. No, not at all. She's fixed.
I don't think so. She looks like she's running the roost over there.
Which is part of the problem. In a Christian marriage, if I want him to lead, then I have to get out of the way, right? I can't be standing in front going, "You lead," and him not having the sword to do that.
Right.
So give us again where we can find you, how they can contact you. Do you have an email also?
I do. Well? I have a very easy email. It is Shelly, and my name is spelled Shelley.
Okay.
Shelly at recoverycoachesofInstagram.com.
Awesome. So they can reach you there. They can sign up for the summit, and the summit is at no cost.
Oh, absolutely. That is real important.
Yeah, we haven't said that before.
No, we didn't.
So the summit is at no cost. You can hop in anytime, and you will, I believe I saw like a list or a table of contents of when each style of coach is going to be on. You will be able to choose when you want to show up, right?
Exactly. As soon as I get everyone's time together, I will be putting out a schedule.
Awesome.
Very
awesome. Cool. Shelly, we are so honored that you were so vulnerable with us and sharing your story with moms. It is, I can tell you from experience, it's overwhelming when you can't do what you need or you believe you need to do for your kids. And thank you for sharing that with us. And it's just been a blessing, a real blessing to hear your story.
Thank you. I wanted to remind everyone that the one thing that always gets the women thinking when I tell my story to groups is that our children do not wait for us to get our act together. They are already disappearing into adults.
That is such a fabulous statement. And it really we had a graduation ceremony at church yesterday. Our son is 14 and I about burst into tears with Jerry. I said, we're just 4 years away. I mean, it's happening before we realize, and they will move forward whether we get our act together or not. You're absolutely right. This is what I want to say to our Sober on Purpose listeners is come to the summit.
Yeah.
There's the opportunity to get your act together one step at a time. Just like peeling the onion. We can't all be perfect all at once, unfortunately.
Right. And I tell you, these coaches were hand selected by me because I am an introvert, really. And this was very vulnerable for me to go out and say, hey, can you be in the summit? And they were the warmest, most passionate people about sobriety.
Oh, that's
so don't be shy. Come on into the summit.
And they will be friendly and nice and kind. And what I've experienced in coaching is when you really get listened to, I mean, it's like having a good massage, or for women, having your hair blown out by the hairdresser. It's just one of those things that really feels wonderful. And so these coaches will have some time to answer your questions. And then certainly, I imagine most of them offer a discovery call where you can be the only one on the call and visit with them and see if you're connecting, because if you're going to co-create something, you want to connect with that person.
Absolutely.
All right. So recoverycoachesofInstagram.com/summit-2019 is where you find the summit. And you can also find Shelly at that.com. You will be able to get in contact with her and to learn more about what she does. So thank you, Shelly. We really appreciate you giving up your time this morning.
Thank you. I'm honored to be on.
Hey, Jerry, we talk about living sober on purpose all the time. What is real life for real families?
Well, real life for real families is just dealing with the trials and tribulations of daily life as they come.
But we're also looking for growth, reaching our goals. We've had different things come in our lives that we want to achieve. How have we made that happen?
We work with people who are talented, who we admire, who we want some of their attributes to be imprinted on us.
And that came to us through several sessions of coaching with some international coaches and also some local coaches, which has really changed my life. How has it moved you forward?
Oh, it's definitely given me the ability to have a sounding board and to be able to talk through things that allowed me to figure out where I was and what I wanted, having somebody to help direct me.
And that's where coaching comes into play. I'm Tanya Joya, and I am a recovery coach, someone that helps you get unstuck, figure out what's next, and deal with fear and anxiety after someone in your family gets sober or during the sobriety process. Because people often feel like
the other shoe is going to drop.
And that really is a hard, stuck place. You don't feel like you can move forward with your dreams, with your goals, because you're constantly watching and waiting for something to happen. How about making a change in your life and looking forward? And to learn more about me, hop onto thejoyousfamily.com, The Joyous Family Facebook group, or The Joyous Family Instagram. And I'd love to do a discovery call with you. Just about 15 minutes of your time to see if coaching is right for you. Thank you so much, and I look forward to hearing from you.